Okay, three things that have been driving me literally insane during this whole quarantine. One, social isolation, which we're going to talk about on today's episode. Two, politics, obviously. And three, that stupid social media trend where people play music and just point to areas on the screen and then captions pop up. Can we please be done with this? We're not in kindergarten, okay? Your TikTok and Instagram feed is not your Sunday school teacher's felt board. Please, can we be done with this? One take, let's go. Okay, this week's topic, isolation. And no, we're not talking about the Brooklyn Nets offense. Boom! Come on, first sports jokes out the gate. I'm coming in hot this week. Ladies and gentlemen, before we get started with this week's episode, we need to obviously discuss our sponsors like we do every week. This week's sponsor, none other than Supercuts. I mean, obviously, look at my hair. I feel like I don't even have to talk about them as much as I do just have to show you a side view. And you're like, oh my goodness, John, stop talking right now. Actually, turn off this episode. I'm going to Supercuts right now. Just go in there and request the John Crist. They'll take care of you. Listen, all jokes aside, listen, this is a comedy show. There's not all jokes aside. All jokes directly, listen up. Okay, social isolation. That's what we're here to talk about today. Look at this. Remember that? That's not in our not too distant in our past. Remember this? Can't wait to get back to this. Can't wait to get back to the. Oh, okay. Well, not that. That's a Maroon 5 show, and nobody wants to go back to that. I honestly hope those never come back. Come on. John, why Maroon 5? I love them. Adam Levine's my favorite. Did you have to do that at the beginning of the episode? I'm a big fan. I'm just kidding. My apologies to Maroon 5. Listen, before this episode wraps up, I will say something nice about Maroon 5. Let's just think about social isolation, what the government has been asking us to do for going on, a year now? Literally in Los Angeles, some of the quarantines were so strict that you couldn't even leave your house. You could get ticketed for leaving your house. And I want to discuss the effects that has on people. People do crazy things when they're left alone. Look at me. Obviously, that's not a good example. John, come on. You're a good-looking guy. That's a good-looking haircut. You don't have to... thank you. Just for this debate, I'd like to travel down the analogy, the road of Shawshank Redemption. The best movie of all time. No, you can't... of all time? Absolutely not. No. Okay, maybe. I'll put, okay, top 3, Shawshank's the best, though. Remember that movie? Listen, Andy was in prison. The worst prison. The most maximum security prison. There were maggots in his food. Boggs was trying to chase him down in the shower. And what's worse than all that? What's worse than all of that? Solitary confinement. When they put him in the hole, there's absolutely nothing worse than that. Isn't that? And that's what the government has been asking us to do for the past year. The Medical News Today had an article. Wow, John, you're so intelligent. You look up research for this show? Yes, I do. You're welcome. The Medical News Today had an article about social isolation, and another word for it, lockdown. It just drives me crazy that is what they're asking people to do, and they wonder why there's been so many negative effects of it. We'll get into that in a second. First of all, before we talk about isolation, let's make a distinction between being an introvert and isolation. Can we please stop with these stupid internet memes about introverts? I can't wait to leave the party. That's my favorite part, going home. Oh, another 30 days of lockdown? Great, I get to party by myself. Stop it. No one's that much of I'm an introvert. No one is that much of an introvert. At some point, everyone wants to come outside and engage with other people. And there's a bunch of articles on this that I've looked up. Isolation leads to literal insanity. That's why it's a punishment in prisons. Obviously, it leads to anxiety, depression, a rise in suicide, me getting a haircut like this. People are doing crazy things during isolation. Just look at this.
A man and a woman.
Come on, that's funny. Everybody's like, John, it must be tough to be a comedian. No, people are losing their minds. That's a direct effect of the lockdowns. I'm telling you. And you know what possibly worse than all the negative mental health side effects of isolation is? These freaking people on the internet with their trick shot accounts. Listen, I don't know how else to say this more clearly. This requires no skill. You know who can do trick shots? Dude Perfect. Those guys are awesome. Their content is entertaining, and they actually have a budget to make their stuff look good. This requires nothing. This requires an iPhone, your parents' basement, or parents' backyard, and an unemployment check. Stop with these. You could be out here for 3 days. It doesn't take any skill. It just takes a bunch of time. And I don't know why people are liking this and keep encouraging this nonsense. Stop with the trick shots. Listen. I'm a little upset about that. I need to just take a deep breath. Listen, Joe Rogan has posted a couple topics about this. I've seen a bunch of them on the internet about how there's more deaths from suicide than there are from COVID-19. And I don't want to debate that because I don't know how true that is or not. There's a bunch of articles on it. The one I saw, which was interesting to me, was in Clark County, the school district right outside of Las Vegas. They've decided to reopen their schools after a string of suicides. That's crazy. Your solution to combating suicide is to reopen the schools? Remember when I was in school, I was in like 9th grade chemistry class. Me and Miss Thomas were like mixing up some kind of concoction on the periodic table. I was like, what if I drink this? Can I get out of this class? That's how terrible I thought it was. But now school is the solution. And listen, my only premise, I don't know if COVID or isolation is causing deaths or suicide. I don't really get into the debate. That's beyond my area of expertise. All I'm saying is, how could opening the schools be a solution to suicide if closing of schools wasn't the cause of it? John, that's not even comedy. That's just a great point. Thank you. I'm just saying, but listen, the coronavirus is going on for, like I said, coming up on a year now. When did things start to turn for Andy in Shawshank Redemption? Well, it was the spring of 1974. Was it 74? 68? Spring of 1960? I don't know. I don't remember when they started tarring the ceiling, or sorry, and then the roof, and then he started doing the taxes. Then they got the softball team, and then they got the library, and things eventually worked out. It's when hope first comes in to play is when you start to feel better. And I'm trying to make this just to share hope with people, because what the government has done is so detrimental to the health of everyone. If you say, hey, we got to quarantine for 2 months, everybody goes, all right, sounds good. But when you keep just extending it, you have no idea how detrimental that is to people's health. Remember when it first came out in like last March, like it came out like it was a movie premiere or something. When it came out, people were like, oh, it'll be a couple weeks. And then they were like, hey, once summer's over, it's going to get worse. Once the weather starts getting colder, it's going to get worse. Oh, actually, once Thanksgiving comes, everybody's going to be shopping. It's going to get worse. Once Christmas comes, people are going to be with their families. It's going to get worse. And now it's the new year, and people are like, oh, listen, the Brazilian strain, the Colombian strain of COVID-19. It's information that is just designed to keep people in fear. That's it. There's absolutely no educational purpose for that stuff being on the news except to just scare people. And listen, I've been in rehab. I've been suicidal. I've been in the darkness. And I was in rehab for 45 days. I remember driving. We had to go to like a ropes course or something one day. And I remember driving past a McDonald's. And I thought to myself, look at that. I would give absolutely anything to have a meal at that McDonald's. And don't you feel like that now? You see sporting events or bars and you go, I would give anything to go hang out at a place that you took for granted before. I said I would give anything to go eat at that McDonald's, mostly because the McRib was back. But I mean, that's just a part of it. That was probably 95% of it. But I'm just saying, listen, people, it's cold, listen, and people are looking for some hope, and things I think this week are starting to turn. People are starting to open things up, and it's less economical or health and more psychological, because we've realized we can't keep doing this. And think of all the politicians, like all the politicians that have gotten in, I mentioned this last week on the show, that have gotten in trouble for like saying things like when the mayor of Gavin Newsom was like, no going to restaurants, and then he went to a restaurant. Or Nancy Pelosi was like, no going to salons, and then she went to a salon. Like, we're mandating people to stay inside, but these politicians know for themselves that it's life or death. They're like, I have to go to a salon for my mental health, to get to do something exciting. I have to go to the gym. And listen, people got on Nancy Pelosi for doing that. I don't get on her. I respect her need to do that for her own mental health. Listen, Nancy Pelosi, they said that the salons were closed. My response to that, boom, come on. That's the first prop that has ever been introduced into, man, this is my favorite show on TV, and it's literally my show. I feel great about this. Before we end, when I was doing the research, John, you're so intelligent. When I was doing the research for this show, I came across this meme, and I wanted to show it just a little bit. So for people that are down, for people that are feeling depressed or sad, just look at this for a second. Serotonin, endorphins, oxytocin, dopamine. These are all the things that if you get out, and these are all the things you can do to increase that positivity in your brain. And you know what? The one thing that actually leads to depression, I found this article. The number one thing that leads to depression is watching videos of people putting their captions and then I'm just kidding. That's a fake headline, but I had to. That's hilarious. Get out of here. Please, I beg of you, if you take anything away from this episode, stop making the pointing at captions videos. Listen, I can't really judge because I have this haircut. I get it. Listen, do you remember the movie Braveheart? Remember when they were trying to muster up the courage to get in that last battle, and Mel Gibson was like, many years from now, I can't do an Irish accent either. I'm terrible at accents. Many years from now, lying in your beds at home, would you be willing to give up all those days from then to now for one chance, just one chance, for the ability to attend a Maroon 5 concert? Boom, full circle. Listen, I knew I was going to come back and get it. I knew it was there for me. It was the low-hanging fruit. I just had to nail it. I feel good about it. Adam Levine, we love you. Listen, think about all the things. I've been touring on the road for probably the last, 3 months. And the shows have been social distanced and limited capacity. But listen, if the news is true, you risk getting coronavirus by coming out to my show. Isn't that crazy for what is widely known to be maybe above average comedy? Maybe, but people are risking their lives to come see my show. But it's not about that. It's greater than that. Yeah, my comedy's funny. All right, don't put any disrespectful comments in the comments. What? I'm just saying, people are risking their lives, really and truly. They're risking their lives to come out and go to a restaurant or to see my comedy show, because it's more than that. It's about life or death, and about positivity and optimism and hope. And that's the only thing that keeps people going, is hope. And when you put it in this never-ending cycle of, I don't know when it's going to end, but stay in your homes alone and isolate and don't talk to anybody, and only FaceTime people, that people are eventually gonna come out. I was on the road the other day with a comedian buddy, and we wanted to go. I keep looking at the reflection and looking at my hair like this, and I can't take myself seriously. Me and my buddy were gonna go out to eat, and we said, let's go to Chick-fil-A, because can't hide money, you know what I'm saying? We went to Chick-fil-A. This is in Omaha, Nebraska. We went to Chick-fil-A, and the Chick-fil-A was closed. The inside was closed, and we were so, I can't describe it. We were so bummed out. We're like, oh man, we want to go in there and eat. And listen, to be fair, we didn't have any inclination of making friends with people or talking to anyone, but we wanted to just be around people. We could get the chicken sandwich and eat it in our car, but we wanted to experience something together, and it was closed, and we were bummed out. Think about all the times you've gone to a restaurant and you walk in there and it's empty, like it's not very popular, and you're like, ugh. Like, look at the vibe of this place. Let's go somewhere else. You're not trying to make new friends that night, but you just want to be around where other people are. And that's a basic human need that we all have. We wanted to go into that Chick-fil-A so bad. And think about who's in a Chick-fil-A. Homeschool moms and ladies with full-length denim skirts on. We didn't want to be for John. Come on, that's hurtful. We love you, John. Stop making these jokes on our behalf. I'm just kidding. Listen, everybody, that's unnecessary. I'm just saying, let's bring this episode to a close. Talk about Shawshank Redemption. Remember when it's the very end, when Andy writes the letter to Red and he's reading it. He goes, hope is the greatest thing is, I don't even know what first of all, I shouldn't be impersonating, a white guy shouldn't do an impersonation of a black guy, because that's how people get canceled. Come on, I should hire a minority, a black guy, to come in here and do that on my behalf. So, okay, John, come on, just wrap up the episode, please. Do you need to be taking shots? Yes, I do. That's what this show's all about. Anyway, Red said, hope is the greatest of I don't know, I can't remember the quote. Somebody put it in the comments. I like it. Somebody put, hope is a great thing, and great things never die. So if you take anything from this episode, hopefully you laughed. Hopefully you gained some positivity. Hopefully this virus is coming to an end very, very soon. And I leave you with one charge. Get busy living or get busy dying. Let's go. One take. We'll see you next week.